It's your host, Holly, and it's time for a little teaser talk. Before we jump into today's episode, quick roll call. Who's heading to Welcome to Rockville this year? If you guys see me running around doing interviews, come say hi. You guys have got to check this out.
Welcome to Rockville. Returns to Daytona International Speedway May 7th through 10th with Foo Fighters, My Chemical Romance, Guns N' Roses, and Bring Me the Horizon. Plus, Turnstile, Five Finger Death Punch, The Offspring, Breaking Benjamin, A Day to Remember, Godsmack, and so many more. Welcome to Rockville, May 7th through 10th. Passes on sale now for as low as $1 down at welcometorockville.com.
Pretty wicked lineup, am I right? I hope to see you there. Now let's get into today's episode. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Teaser Talk Tuesday. Happy Teaser Talk Tuesday. Hey, everyone, it's Hollie Nicole, and it's Teaser Talk Tuesday. Whatever you want to put it. I am super excited about today's episode because I ran into this light way of putting it, gentleman, at incarceration last year. And there's just something about whenever I meet artists and people at festivals, like some of them are just a passerby, and then some of them you just connect with and you become quickly like Instagram BFFs. I mean, at least that's how I view this relationship, but he might think differently. Anyways, everyone, welcome to the show, Nick Wolf, the lead singer of Oceans on Other Planets. What's going on, Nick? How are you?
Thank you so much for having me, Holly. It's been a long time in the making, I think, and I'm happy to be here.
It has been. There's been many memes shared, many reels shared between us, many conversations. And then here we are. We finally got to the point where we're taking our Instagram friendship to now a podcast friendship. So I'm super stoked. Appreciate your time of hopping on.
So we are really leveling up here, I would say.
We are. I guess you could say things are getting pretty serious, huh? Like the Napoleon Dynamite. That didn't.
Hey,
I didn't.
This ain't a Chili's, okay?
Whoa! That's like a whole nother. The day you and I go to Chili's, we might need to have a hard launch on social media as an official Chili's dinner.
We might have to have some paparazzi show up, or then again get some guards so they can't show up. It might be that serious. I don't know.
Yeah, we might have to tell TMZ a heads up. We're gonna be at Chili's, y'all. Don't tell anybody. Anyways, so catch me up. I mean, obviously we've been talking back and forth, but what have you been up to since incarceration? Don't give out too much because we still got some conversations to have. But
yeah, I mean, well, the big to get all this new music out. So we have like 10 songs in the queue that are basically ready, and we've been working out the strategy to roll the stuff out. We're also doing some collaborations with other artists on some of the songs, which is taking a little bit longer, but I think it's worth it. But we're releasing a new EP in probably end of April, early May, because we're going out on a big tour in May. And I know we wanted to talk a little bit about that. Yeah, we're going on the road with Spineshank, Head PE, Primer 55. The package is called the New Metal Sucks Tour, which is kind of perfect timing, perfect branding, I would say. So we're jumping on starting 5/21, going through 6/7. We're playing like 15 shows with those guys. And since this is a relatively new project, like a couple years old, this is definitely our biggest, most serious tour that we've done. We've done a handful of smaller ones up until now, but we want to get the EP out and then hit them with the tour and promote that. And let me stop talking in case you have follow-up questions.
Yeah, I'm like, Nick, everyone's gonna have to hop off of this after minute 3 because they're gonna know everything.
Oh shit! I don't want to blow my load too early.
We gotta tease our way into the end of this conversation. You know what I'm saying? No, but you did drop. I mean, obviously you've been super busy since incarceration of last year. So let's talk about the New Metal Sucks tour. I always love it when bands do that. Like they obviously you guys really don't think you suck, and you guys don't suck, but it's funny, right? It's a nice play on words. So what's going to be that energy? What do you think that tour energy is going to feel like, and how do you feel Oceans on Other Planets fits into that lineup?
Yeah, so our band is interesting, just like stylistically. We have like a wide range of styles. So we have some like pretty metal songs all the way to some very pop avant-garde songs. And I think the musical climate these days allows for that type of diversity, which maybe you couldn't do that as much back in the day. But the bands that we're playing with are legends in their own right. Spine Chink is doing like their 20-year reunion of their album Height of Callousness, which was a huge record. I think they were on Roadrunner. They're selling out everywhere. And then you've got Head PE, who are just like, I mean, from SoCal, they've been killing it for like, I don't know, 30 years, something like that. Don't quote me on the number. I mean, these guys have such high energy, even though they've been doing it for quite a long time. So frankly, our goal is to hold our own with these guys who've been killing it for like longer than we've been around. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's priority number one. And I think like you look at Head PE perform live even today. I mean, uh, you know, the front man, God love him. I mean, he's still so wild and energetic, and he's kind of ripped too. Like I'm needing to hit the gym because I want to fucking show up, you know?
Right. That's a great question. Is like, how do you prepare? Like, how do you prepare mentally and physically for tours? Because it's like you have those off months, and then it's all of a sudden like, okay, well, we're back on the road. Is there any kind of like rituals or habits that you instill before tour that helps you get prepared for that kind of nonstop energy?
Yes, there's a lot that goes into it. Like we're bringing a much more complex technical show. So there's a lot of prep on the technology side that's going on, and we've been working on it for a while. We're doing a ton of rehearsals. We have a new drummer also, which makes things interesting and challenging. But his name is Jeff, and he just joined us for this tour specifically. So, like, getting him in the groove is a big priority. And he's already been learning the material, posting videos on Instagram of him playing our songs. So I'm very optimistic, but that'll change the energy and the dynamic. Like when Guns N' Roses transitioned from Steven Adler to Matt Sorum, major shift in energy and mood. And so some like it better, some don't like it better, right? So we have a new drummer, that's a big thing. But in terms of like personal preparation, like I'm doing a ton of like vocal warm-up stuff, like trying to do it every single day just to build stamina, build strength. Because when you have to perform every night in those conditions, it can be pretty grueling. If you're not prepared, you can burn yourself out. I mean, I think it's kind of like an athlete preparing
Yeah.
for like the Olympics or preparing for the finals in their sport or whatever. Like you have to have more stamina than you need. You don't want to obviously come up short, right? So there's a lot of that. Also, I'm trying my best not to party, frankly, because I want to preserve my energy and kind of let it all out when it comes time to tour. Some people don't take time off of those activities, but I'm trying to be a good boy. And I mean, I was in Vegas last weekend and I did drink a lot of tequila, I'll be honest. But I'm back on the monk mode right now, and I'm trying to basically walk the straight and narrow for the next month, focus on the preparation, focus on rehearsal, and fucking bring it, 150%.
So we're gonna have to hold off on our Chili's adventure until at least the tour starts, right? Is what this is what I'm hearing. No tequila
I'm
until
thinking like a mid-tour Chili
the
stop.
tour. I love it. Just to re-energize, right? That's
Exactly.
awesome. So, it's interesting. And I'm just giggling at the fact that you're like, I've got to go into monk mode. But, tour is another beast. It's another fun time. Out of the entire lineup of bands, who would you say, what band is going to be the biggest troublemaker or the wildest person on this tour?
There's a lot of competition, I think.
Mm,
I think Head PE to me always seems raucous and wild. So I think they're a contender. And then
okay.
Johnny Santos from Spineshank parties pretty hard.
Okay.
And I think the whole band kind of drinks pretty hard. I mean, I've hung out with them at some festivals and some gigs, and they don't play. So I'm feeling like a teenager trying to hang out with the college
Mhm.
kids on this tour or something. And part of me is like, I want to go just as hard, but I also want to prioritize the music. I don't want to be like hung over at 3 p.m. trying to get up for
Mhm.
sound check. So it's gonna be fucking interesting.
Well, we'll definitely have to have a podcast episode post tour so we can talk about these interesting moments that happened during tour. Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. So, you're talking about Head PE. Their drummer has a newish, right, adventure when it comes to music and bands. Let's. And you're friends with them too, so I know that they've got some gigs and stuff going on. So I want to kind of touch base on those, like what he's got going on with. I think there's also a show that is happened in April 4th. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. So the band, I mean, they're not new, but they're called Breaking in a Sequence, and
Gotcha.
they're associates of ours. And BC Vaught is the drummer,
Yeah.
who was in Head PE back in the day. The original drummer from Breaking in a Sequence was David from Korn. I think he was the founder of that band after he left Korn. But he moved on after a while. They replaced that, BC filled that seat, and he's still playing with them. And so they did this big gig at House of Blues in Anaheim here, along with a bunch of LA folks. And they had Fieldy from Korn come out and do a few songs, and Wes Gear from also from Head PE come out. So that was a pretty good hometown moment, like a little bit of like the new current stuff with throwbacks to, amazing history from new metal past. And it ties right in with Head PE, doing this tour with
Mhm.
us as well. So we're just really thankful and grateful to be, friends with these people, to be associated with these people, to have them take us under their wing a little bit, and give us a chance at some of these bigger opportunities. So, thank you to all those guys. And BC Vaught has been super cool to us. Like we opened for Taproot in Bakersfield, like well, it was a couple different tour stops about 2 years ago. So they played Aftershock, and then they did a run down the West Coast, and we joined them on that run. And so I met BC at the Bakersfield stop, the first show after Aftershock, and, he was just asking me a lot of questions like, "When did your band start? What's your style?" And then he heard us, and then he was, like, very complimentary because we have, like, some very melodic songs, even some poppy songs, and I think he wasn't expecting that, but he was, like, super cool and very encouraging. And so ever since then, we've been just kind of keeping in touch, and he's been kind of advising us a little bit.
That's super cool. Yeah, and so like it's always awesome too, like those right connections at the right time. But then it's not necessarily luck. It's just taking advantage of that opportunity where worlds collide and hanging tight, on those connections, and really building the rapport between bands. So that's amazing, and you guys are awesome. So I'm super stoked to see that you guys are back out on tour. I can't wait to catch you guys out on a show. So remind me and the listeners, what are those tour dates so that we can make sure we hop on and grab tickets near our city?
Yeah, we're playing May 21st in New Jersey, Clifton, New Jersey. And that's the first stop. And then we're going all the way through to Colorado, finishing up around 6, 7, I think is the last date. But along the way, we're doing Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin,
All kinds of
Ohio,
stuff.
like 3 shows in Ohio, 3 shows in Colorado. Um, so it's pretty much a Midwest run, but, like I said, 15 shows. We're playing the Forge in Joliet, which is a staple. There are a couple larger venues like in, Iowa and Wisconsin, like 2,000 seater venues and stuff.
Nice.
So yeah, we're pretty excited.
Very cool. Well, those who are tuning in, make sure you guys go check out the podcast show notes because I'll make sure to link in so you guys can go see the full entire layout of all 15 shows and catch them near you. So awesome. So let's talk about we all know that like a tour usually means either new music just got released or new music's coming. And a little birdie told me that you guys got a new EP coming or dropping soon. Let's talk about that. What can we expect? How did it? Oh, just so many questions. But yes, let's talk about your new EP dropping. What can we expect about it?
I'll try not to unpack it all at once and take it slow, but, so we're going to be reissuing a few of the tracks we've already put out. Other Side is our biggest song, so we've got a remaster of that coming out. But along with that, we have 3 new songs that'll be on the EP. One of them is called Make It Out Alive, and it's gonna be a collab with Jay Gordon from Orgy, so we're really excited about that. Orgy is a band that I've loved since I was, quite young, and they're still so powerful and so creative and doing great new music. So to have Jay on one of our songs is really fucking exciting. And then we're going to be reissuing our song Die Alone, but this time with Johnny from Spineshank singing on it as a collaboration. So we thought that that was a good pairing stylistically. And
Mhm.
also, he's just such a powerful vocalist. And then on top of that, we're doing the tour together. So if all goes well, I'm hoping that we'll be able to perform the song live too. And he just brings a fucking ferocious energy, to the stage, and I think will be great for the fans, but also bring out the best in our band as well.
Absolutely. That's amazing. So with this new EP, what chapter of the band does this project represent?
I've played in a number of bands over the years. One of my previous bands was Icarus Landing, which we had released a lot of music and done quite a few tours. But this Oceans on Other Planets project is basically a new project. I mean, I started writing these songs in the pandemic. I'll be honest, the pandemic was pretty good to me because I got to stay home and not get into a bunch of bullshit and really be just super creative. Like I just holed up in my studio and demoed like 50, 60 songs. So it was a very strong period creatively, actually. But then from there, we picked the best songs and turned those into fully fledged, fully produced songs. And that was the first three singles that this band has released, which is Other Side, Die Alone, and Damaged Goods. Our producer for those songs is a guy named Sahaj Tikatin, who is the lead singer of Raw. You might be familiar with them.
Yep.
But it's been great building a relationship with him, working with him. Um, he's extremely strong producer, but also he's a freak of nature vocalist too. So like Raw is actually going out on tour around the same time we are. We're almost hitting the same venues and dates. I was hoping we would intersect so we could perform together, but
Mhm.
it's like one day off every stop, you know? But anyways, so the first three songs were released in 2024. We released one last year called Saturday Night, which is like kind of a Foo Fighters style song. So we've got four songs out there. We're going to add these three new ones and release the EP. So that's a long-winded way of saying this is a very new project. This is our
Yeah.
first EP. All we've had are singles so far, but it's going really well.
That's exciting. So, COVID was a very interesting time, which is so crazy to think that was 6 years ago. It feels like it was like 2 years ago to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Some kind of conspiracy theory of time going faster since then. But take us back in time when you were writing those songs. Was there a moment in the writing or recording process where you thought, okay, this is it?
Well, so interestingly, the stuff that I demoed in that period, none of those songs are these new songs. So it wasn't like one of those got converted or whatever or got selected, but it allowed me to like find my new sound basically. You know, it allowed me to experiment a lot, to take a lot of risks and chances. And a lot of that music still I want to finish and get out. But like over time, the stuff got stronger and stronger, you know what I mean? And I think as far as like a moment, when I got the first mixes of the new singles that we released back from Sahaj, I mean, I knew what I wrote and I knew what I performed and I felt good about it. But once I got the mixes, it was like beyond even what I imagined. Like, and that's kind of rare, I think, because usually it's like like let's say you record a song and you think, oh, that I give that a B, let's say, right? And
Mhm.
then you think the mix is gonna come back and it's gonna be a B, B plus. Like you're not expecting like a great change. But once the mixes came back, it was like pretty fucking mind-blowing because it was like the strongest music I think I've ever done. And I've been doing it since I was like a child, you know? Um, so it was very powerful, like listening back to that stuff, like, holy shit, I think I'm really sitting on something special here. So that was pretty cool.
Very cool. Well, I'm super excited. And can we talk about when can we expect this new EP dropping? Like month wise,
Well,
timeline
frankly,
wise?
we wanted to have it out by now, but because of the collabs we're doing, that's taking a little bit longer.
Gotcha.
So at a minimum, it will be ready before the tour. Our tour starts May 21st. We should nail down a release date, but I would like it to be as early as possible before the tour. Hopefully, first week of May would be nice.
Very awesome. From this EP, what track is going to hit the hardest live for fans and why?
I would say this song called "Make It Out Alive." It's the one that we're doing with Jay from Orgy. And actually, Holly, I thought about trying to send you the song before the interview so you would have the context. So, like, maybe you could give me some feedback or you could ask deeper questions about it. Maybe I'll send it to you afterwards. Um, but I think it's a very special song. Like, it's kind of like the poppier side of Linkin Park,
All
but
right,
then
I
like,
dig it.
but then the choruses are like very heavy, almost like like a corn song, kind of, right? So, and then the vocal also has like a Smashing Pumpkins vibe because like Billy Corgan was my idol when I was a little kid, as a guitarist and a songwriter. Some people love him, some people hate him, but it'd be like if a Smashing Pumpkins song came out now and it was fresh and electronic, but also heavy like new metal. Can you imagine that? Can you picture that?
I really can't, so now you absolutely have to send me it so I can listen to this because my brain is, like, trying to waltz with this sound, and I'm just like, "Okay, yeah, I just need you to send it to me, Nick."
Okay,
That's just
we
it.
can make it happen. I know a guy.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, like, and that's what's the amazing thing about, like, music and all the different sounds and, just I don't know. It got me salivating, so I'm super excited to dive into that. So, yeah, you are a busy man. You've got the tour, coming up, EP coming out. You had mentioned about that strategy, and I'm not trying to, like, have you give away all your secrets, but for those who are listening in, we do have a lot of aspiring artists that tune into Teaser Talk. What advice would you say when it comes to thinking out that launch strategy should people take into consideration when they have maybe it's a new single or a new album about to drop and they just need to figure out like a strategy to launch it or to drop it?
Well, I would start by saying you need to have a really good team, and I've had to learn and relearn this lesson over the years. Like, I had moments when I was younger and I thought, "I can just do it all myself because I'm so brilliant and so hardworking and whatever," right? But that's very foolish. That's bullshit, frankly. Our ego is sometimes our own worst enemy, you know?
Ego is
It'll
the enemy for sure.
yeah, it can be very counterproductive. Yeah, I'm very blessed because I have a great manager, Tom Hazer. I have an excellent producer, Sahaj. I have people helping me on social media. I've had some great video directors work with me. My other producer, Tom Chandler, is like one of my best friends and my right-hand man, always advising me on things. So having a good group of people around you to bounce ideas off, strategy-wise or even tactically, I think is so incredibly important. Like if you can develop your team, it's one of the most important things you can possibly do. Now, that being said, in this modern era, Instagram, TikTok, that stuff kind of rules the whole game, right? Like I wasn't even planning to do like an EP or an album because most people are just talking about the singles game, which is kind of the game we've been playing, right? But on the other hand, there's a lot of like music business industry types who still rely on EP releases, album releases, and those cycles still dictate tour activities and stuff. Like if you don't have any new music coming out, why tour, right? Like what are you selling at that point other than maybe nostalgia or something, right?
Mhm.
So you got to have a new product. And then with respect to the social media stuff, like I'm planning for each new song, and I hate to say this, this sounds like stupid to me, but I'm going to be honest. We're going to do like 100 pieces of content for each song that
Yeah.
we can flood through Instagram, TikTok, whatever, because that's the way to get exposure at scale, like even more so than touring, frankly. And for bands that are just doing local shows, I mean, you might play to 20 to 100 to maybe 200 people in your local hometown or whatever, but you can't do that often or you'll oversaturate the market. You could do that once a quarter, once half a year, whatever, right? Um, and again, you're only reaching so many people. So if you want to reach thousands or millions of people, I mean, social media is the way to do it. That's the game right now.
You know what's really fascinating is I had on the show Kirk from Crowbar.
Okay.
And so Crowbar, I mean, that's like some people might say they define sludge metal. Like they are like OGs, right? And a lot of these OG bands, they're kind of like at that point to where they're like, okay, well, I'm not either gonna adapt to social media or whatever, but it's fascinating. It was a great conversation that I had with him because he had said that essentially if you have a stellar online presence, stellar social media, that's almost equivalent to having like a stellar record deal because that's going to be how
Yeah.
people discover your music. And I was like, wow, that is so powerful coming from because not to knock people who are like, in the how do I say this experienced phase of their life. A lot of people just, they're like, social media, I don't need that. But those who adapt to it, and I wish I would have had the numbers beforehand. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he was telling me, he was like, dude, like Crowbar used to have numbers. I mean, they're high numbers. Let's just say maybe tens, if not hundreds of thousands of listeners a month on Spotify, which that's amazing, right? I mean, any listener on Spotify is amazing, let alone that level. They now, at this time of this recording, anyways, they have over 1.4 million monthly listeners. Just, I won't say just because, but due to the fact that a lot of their sound bites went viral, like on TikTok and Instagram. So, and it's interesting too, because probably just because I've recently done that episode, but all of my reels are, majority of them I'm seeing is like Crowbar, which is so funny. But now I'm seeing that. And I'm like, wow, that's how they go from, tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands a monthly to a million, to over a million listeners. So definitely don't discredit social media at all. And one thing I wanted to touch back and circle back on, because, you're talking about having the right team. Of course, starting out, unless if you have a lot of FU money, you have to be resourceful, right? But there's a point in time where that keeps you like handcuffed. And outside of podcasting music, I'm a nerd when it comes to business. And I grew up super resourceful, just the way I grew up. But as a professional, and of course, music, even though it's fun and it's a passion, people still need to treat it as as a business side of things. So at one point, you have to make that hire, or you have to leverage a team and start building your team. So anyone out there who's on that verge, I would highly, highly recommend grabbing a book called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan. So it's essentially identifying the who and not learning the how, because to get to that next level, you can't be a jack of all trades, especially when it comes to the level that you guys are doing. You know what I mean? Like, could you do it by yourself? Sure. Like, would you have the stamina to go on tour and do it? Probably not. Right. So just want to kind of geek out real quick on that, because that was a book that really opened my eyes when it comes to leveraging it, because I always love learning stuff. But at one point, it's like, if I keep learning stuff, I can't ever be an expert at one thing. You know what I mean?
It's a trade-off. It's absolutely a
Mhm.
trade-off. But yeah, like having the team and delegating is really important if you want to scale and do it fast. And even like musically, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm used to doing a lot of it all myself, right? But once I started letting people in to give me constructive criticism or add parts or whatever, it's made me a better songwriter. It's made the songs better. There's something beautiful about the human connection. Like what happens when two people work together on whatever it is. It doesn't have to be music, right? I used to be like a gnarly control freak, but now I'm like, I send my song to Jay and I give some general ideas and I say, go wild, fucking go for it. Let's see what happens, right? And then we'll make some executive calls when we get it back. What we keep, what we don't. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you are a generalist and you try to do it all, you'll never be excellent at one thing. I mean, look at like Michael Jordan. The way to be the best is to have a singular focus and go at it 24/7. And then you delegate everything else out. Do you think Michael Jordan's doing his laundry? Probably not. You think Michael Jordan's mowing his lawn? Probably not. Because he needs that time to train, 24/7 more or less, right? Um, but also you and I have talked a little bit about technology, right? Like AI
Yeah.
agents and things. I don't know
Yeah.
if you want to get into that, but this is changing the way people think, the way people work, the way people do business. And you could have a team of 10 artificial bots, so to speak, like
Mhm.
working on your website, working on your editing, like any number of things. And I think that's going to be the next generation of sort of scaling that we see.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not going to show it because it'll show your contact information, but I'm gonna like boop. You guys can see there's text notifications. So like down to the booking of the podcast show that you're like today, the appointment reminders, or the booking reminders, not appointment, but my system says appointment. Like when you had text, it was actually my system's phone number when you text it, but that system texted me and said, "Hey, Nick Wolf just texted. I'm on." So like, you know what I mean?
Mm,
Down to that, to where I'm not
mhm.
having to check all that, you know what I mean? Making sure you're got like you're on it before me. So it's like having those key places in play, because me personally, like I am ADHD, I'm a D personality. Paying attention to details is just not my strong suit.
Mhm.
It's helped me make decisions and just go, but it's also, stung me a couple of times whenever I'm not paying attention to the details in those decisions. And I think understanding what your weakness is, and first seeing if you can leverage AI to help build those strengths or those weaknesses into strengths. And then those ones that, that do have to have a human touch on it, making sure you have the next hire at the right time versus just hiring somebody just to hire somebody. So yeah, I mean, there's just so much cool stuff that I'm digging into the world of AI. Like this morning, I saw something, and this is just nothing completely like it's nothing to do with podcast or music, but it was an automation for a reoccurring event for every day. How do I or every Thursday at a certain time? So like I literally spent a good 45 minutes because I knew it was possible. I just couldn't figure out how. And with that, I got a solution to automatically add this event to people's emails and all this other things. Boring talk, but all of that to say, if that was an issue, probably about if that was a problem I was looking to solve about 3, 4 years ago, I would have had to pay somebody thousands of dollars to code that for me. And in
Yeah.
30 to 45 minutes in a conversation with ChatGPT, I was able to do it myself, right? And then now it's like a game changer. Like when I was showing my client that I was talking to about, they're like, "This is a game changer. We could use this so many other, you know what I mean?" So it's like those little things that you can leverage and have conversations with the AI. I mean, I know people have their own opinions about AI, but for me, I'm like, if you don't embrace it and you don't learn it, of course, it's something we have to have cautionary with. Terminator is kind of like a prequel to maybe what could be happening at one point, but it is one of those things where, if you're wanting to be productive and you have all the tools at your fingertips, why not?
Well, I just wanted to go on the record and say that you are officially a big old nerd, but that's a good thing, because you're looking into automation and scale, and I mean, next thing
Oh,
you
I
know,
don't
you're
like
gonna be
that.
talking about, like, Zapier and Salesforce and email
Dude,
automation
who
and
uses Salesforce? Gross. Go high level 1,000%. Zapier I've been using for like 10 years. So don't even get me geeking
mm,
out like this. We're about to lose a bunch of interested people that came here to listen about your music. And now they're gonna come in here and listen to a bunch of nerds talk about automations and AI. So for the sake of that conversation, if you guys want to pick our brains, throw me and Nick in a group chat on Instagram and let's nerd out. So we don't
I
hijack
mean, I'm
the
actually doing a lot of pretty interesting AI projects that I don't wanna talk about now, but maybe
yeah,
that's for another day.
I love
Some
it.
stuff I is kind of top secret
Yeah.
sort of thing, but, let's get back to the music. I do wanna
Let's get
say,
back to the
uh
music. Now back to our continued programming. No, that's cool though to do have that awareness and like leveraging AI when it's necessary, but then of course still keeping that human touch when it is necessary as well, right? So yes,
absolutely.
back to you though, Nick. So yeah, you busy time that you've got going on tours, new music, but you're also a podcaster. So let's talk about TC and the Wolf podcast. What's like I know it's been like blowing up. I see you on my Instagram, like on Reels, and you guys are reaching people because you're reaching me anyways, and I'm a person. So here's proof. So let's talk about your podcast. For those who aren't tuning into it, what's it about? What can listeners expect? Because of course, statistics show podcast listeners enjoy listening to podcasts. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing it up. I mean, I used to do these little recordings with my friends when I was young, like just like turn on our Pro Tools system and like just chat. But it was before podcasts were really kind of a thing. We didn't really know what we were doing, and we would just pretty
Mhm.
much make fun of each other and have fun with it, right? I've always kind of enjoyed that vibe for some reason. Like I've always loved just recording, whether it's music or voice or whatever. Um, and so I've been thinking about doing it for a while. Then I went to all these music festivals over the last few years in which I, met you at Incarceration and so forth. But I would see like in the media tent, like all these little interviews going on, right? And so I did a few interviews for the sake of my band, Oceans Under the Planets. One of my buddies, this guy Zach, was a photographer for a lot of the big bands, and he has all this camera gear with him. And I was sitting there like in a moment of downtime, like, hey man, we should probably try this. You've got the gear, we're here, we have the connections, like we could make something out of this. So that was like
Yeah.
the next inflection point where I was kind of getting inspired. So I was planning to do it anyways. And then like last fall around September, October, I was hanging out with my buddy Tom, who's a music producer, and he was going through some really rough shit at the time, which I'll redact for now. But he had a heart to heart with me. He was telling me about his problems, and I was trying to offer the best friendly ear and advice that I could. And we finished that whole thing, and we were both kind of spent. And it's like, what should we do now? Because it doesn't feel like a good day to record music because we just had this crazy emotional talk or whatever. I say, dude, man, I've been wanting to do a podcast. And he's like, yeah, probably we should. And I was like, do you want to fucking try it right now? And he's like, why not? And that was literally the day we just set up the stuff because we were already in the studio. We had the mics, we had the gear, we
Yeah.
set it up, and we just went for it, right? And had to do all the crap you have to do, create the social media profiles, create
Mhm.
the emails and all the things. But we just put it up and like we got a really good response right away. And it's just like with music, if you get a good response to a song, it inspires you to keep going. It inspires you
Yeah.
to do more. So now we've done about 20 episodes, and I mean, honestly, had far more positive response than we ever expected. So it's been super fun.
Very cool. What's something about doing a podcast that has completely surprised you?
Uh, it's really kind of organic. Like I think people think when you put up the mics, it
Yeah.
makes it weird or makes it like this different vibe or something. And I mean, maybe to a small degree that's true, but it's like me talking to my good friend, and we just try to keep like pretend the mics aren't there, pretend we're not recording, and just be real, right? And then also having guests on has been super fun because like there's people I've known for 20 years, and then you have them on the podcast, and you learn about stuff you never would have learned about just because you're being inquisitive, you're doing the Socratic method, things like that. And also like to your credit, like seeing you and seeing like Steph's Rock Show and some of these other podcasts that I've met through the festivals. Like, I'm like, this is really entertaining and really, really fucking cool. Like those were all little motivators to give it a whirl, right? But yeah, just learning about people is like pretty deep and fascinating. It's like a three-dimensional experience. And I'm actually thinking I want to put like my mom on the podcast and grill her about stuff she would never tell me about otherwise.
That is awesome. Yeah, that's, it's funny because I guess a lot of the podcasts that I do, especially with you guys, it's not your first rodeo, right? So it's just you guys are used to singing in front of a crowd with a microphone. So having a microphone on podcasting isn't that much. But there's sometimes I've gotten some new artists that they'll come to me, they're like, I am just extremely nervous. And I'm like, why? It's literally just us having a conversation. We're just talking. We're just getting to know each other. We're getting to, like through the method of conversation, that's how listeners are going to learn more about your music or what you're up to if they don't know who you are, all these other, or if they do know who you are, things that they don't know about you. So I think that that's always been a viewpoint for me. It's like, it's literally just a conversation. Like today, it's like, oh, cool. I'm going to chat with Nick today. It's no different than if I was to pick up the phone and call you or to message you on Instagram. We're just hanging out and having a conversation. And I think it's just kind of like that mindset shift of that. It's not, oh my gosh, this is going to be recorded and the entire world can essentially hear it if they connected to it. It's more of like, hey, let's just catch up and see how things are going. So I think that's one thing. And I'll say too, like with me as a podcaster, it shouldn't have surprised me, but just experiencing it was a big, like, huge surprise. Was just the connection. I'm not even talking about like, oh my gosh, I got to meet Nick, whatever. Not that kind of a connection, but I'm talking about the connection that happens after we stop recording, right? So like my let's see, that I think the third, technically the second, but like officially really the third person on podcast was Jess Margera from CKY. And
Nice.
growing up, like I loved CKY. We were the wannabe jackasses. We definitely weren't as cool. MTV didn't have us on their channel or anything like that. But they were always the guys that we watched and try to aspire to be like, right? So
I didn't see that coming.
yeah, yeah, it was, man, one of these days, maybe I'll send you a video, a old video on Instagram of high school Holly trying to be cool. But anyways, with all that to say, um, I, slid into Jess's DMs. And of course, I wasn't just like, hi, I said, hey, this is a podcast, it's a platform. It's like emphasis on what's in it for him, right? Not that Jeff's a taker. He's actually the opposite of that. He's so much of a giver. But still, you always want to position yourself to where it's not making it about you, but it's making it about them. And, meeting him, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so like 15-year-old Holly would think I was like such a badass right now. And then fast forward to like 2019, I was on an airplane flying to Castle Bam to record the podcast intro. So the podcast intro for Teaser Talk is recorded at Castle Bam by those guys, right? So it's like the connection, and like I said, it's not even just the introduction, it's the connection you build. And Jess is my homie. Like I'm like, he messaged me the other day. He said he's going to be in the Midwestern-ish. So hopefully I can say that on the podcast. I'm not going to do any details as far as tour dates go. So you guys just got to follow those guys if you're curious. But it's friendships. It's like connection. It's the relationships that you build that also just, I don't know, it's a creative outlet on top of it. So there's just so many rewarding things about podcasting that I personally love, and I'm sure you're experiencing it as well.
100%. There's a few things you said that I really, really love. I want to just double down on it. Like the relationship building is one thing, right? And then you said something earlier about just like getting out there, meeting people, trying things. Like there's something to be said for not sitting at home. Like just get your ass out there, shake it up, mix it up, find the connections, just go where the energy goes. Like I've met so many amazing people just from attending the Danny Wimmer festivals that have led to business opportunities, music opportunities, collaborations, inspired the podcast that I'm doing. And that's just one example. I mean, the same thing can happen at a local show. It can happen through Instagram. But like, when you have atoms in a molecule, they're all just speeding around and colliding, and sometimes they collide and make a bigger energy reaction, right? It's the same thing with people. Like if I go out there and meet 20 people, maybe like 15 of them will become good friends, or at least decent friends, and then maybe 5 of them become business opportunities. Whatever. You've got to go out there and smash the bits together, break a few eggs to fucking make an omelet. You know what I'm saying? And really good things come from it. And to your other point, every person that I've had on the podcast that we're doing, most of them are people I knew a little bit, or maybe a lot in some cases, but the relationship deepened and strengthened afterwards. And they also feel really great because we're putting them on a platform, giving them a voice. And so now they have more appreciation for you as an artist and a podcaster. And same here. I really appreciate you having me on and talking about all the things coming up with the music.
Absolutely. And I'm curious, has hosting your own show changed the way you approach interviews or conversations as an artist?
Well, it's funny. I was gonna actually touch on that, and I think it has, because you want to see both sides of the mic, so to speak, or both sides of the podcast. This is the first interview I've done in a while because we're just getting ready to push the EP and the tour and stuff.
Yeah.
And between this and like the last series, I did a lot of podcasts. And I think it's given me a new appreciation for the dialogue, the Q&A, the back and forth. Um, and you mentioned earlier about some artists being nervous. I mean, I think a long time ago I would have nerves doing an interview and stuff. Like now I still have just a little bit because I'm like, I want it to go well. Whatever I'm doing, I want it to go well, right? And it's like, is the technology going to work? Do I have my shit together? Am I going to articulate my points well? I don't know. There's a little bit of like, don't fuck it up energy, but just in terms of having the conversation, none. It's totally organic.
100%. That's incredible. And it's interesting though too, because like I've been on podcasts too, so it's always like a weird like role reversal. Not weird, but it's like it's like you said, an appreciation, because like here it's like preparing and getting the questions ready or talking points ready, making sure that we talked about this and this, versus you're just having those questions directed at you. So it is a different shift. So that's awesome that you've recognized that and you've experienced that, the difference of it in a good way, it sounds like.
Yeah. Well, one other thing I'll add though, we've done almost all of ours in person.
Mhm.
And we wanted to prioritize in person because like you
Yeah.
exchange energy more completely in that scenario, right? This is the first thing I've done like virtually remotely in a while.
Yeah.
Um, and it just sort of reconfirms that belief. It reconfirms that assumption, because it's still a wonderful conversation. But I do think, if you're sitting like 2 feet from somebody and you're vibing, I mean, it's
Yeah.
so much deeper. So, I mean, if you're ever in LA, you should come on our show. That would be great. And of course,
Absolutely.
maybe I'll see you at a festival or something. We could do something there. But it really like it makes it a little more rich. You know what I'm saying?
It does. And can you picture this conversation inside of a Chili's right now with an El Presidente margarita? Could you imagine that energy?
Just a little sauced on some Don Julio or
Some
some
sauce on some
Casamigos or
sauce.
something.
That's awesome. No, 1,000%. And it's going to lead me to my next question for you: is if you can have any guest on your podcast, dead or alive, who's your dream guest?
Dead or well, so when you say dead or alive,
Okay, well, let's not
that
talk about Jesus. So that's going to be one thing. Like, well, I have to have Jesus on my podcast. Let's just say
I mean,
alive. Let's just go
Easter
ahead
is
and wing
coming
it.
up, so maybe Jesus is it's a good time to talk to Jesus. I don't know.
So let's
But
go ahead and let's change that question to any guest that's alive currently on your podcast. Who's your dream
you know,
guest?
I'm gonna go with I think Jimmy Page. At least from the alive side of the equation. I mean, he's just like he's affected everything about guitar music. I don't think there's any band that could say that Led Zeppelin hasn't touched them, or if they did say that, it's just because they don't know better, you know? Like the look, the tone, the gear, the swagger. Like he also was really good, but also played sloppy because to him he wanted to play the blues. I mean, this is a master craftsman. And I think if I could just even sit and talk with him, I'd be geeked the fuck out. But I think I would pull through and succeed in the interview. Um, but you know, there's like another example would be Billy Corgan, like I said earlier. And part of the reason I want to talk to him, I mean, you know, he has a podcast now. Have you seen it at all?
I haven't.
He has a show called The Magnificent Others, and he's getting like A-list guests, like the guys from Rush, Jack Osborne was on, like all the big people. Sharon Osbourne was on, right? Because he's, you know, well established, he's super famous,
Mhm.
all this. So he gets these great guests, but one of the big criticisms about Billy, which you see this across the internet, he doesn't let the guests talk. He's like interrupting them all the time. He's not
Yeah.
letting them finish their points. And I love the guy. I would love to interview him and then bring this up and say, bro, can you fucking calm down and let the guests speak? Because someone's got to make this point. Why not me?
That is awesome. You know, and that's another thing too, like I wouldn't say like a muscle to train, but it is a high level awareness as a podcaster. You always want to live with that philosophy of be more interested than interesting, right? Like, could you imagine if I'm like, hey, yeah, Nick, let's do this podcast together. And then you hop on there and the entire like 40 minutes, which, oh my gosh, this is like the longest podcast of the season. We've had some great conversations. I appreciate your time today. But could you imagine hopping on here and 40 minutes, all you heard about was you being invited to my show and just for me to talk about myself or to talk over you? Would you be like, what the hell is this lady doing? And why did I agree to this? So I think that's another thing too, like being aware of when to zip it, but then also being aware when it's like that might be that awkward silence where you're like, okay, what's my next question? Or what can I do to get, re-energize it too? So podcasting is fun. It's an adventure.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
10 out of 10.
it it is a skill and a muscle to build, you know. And I do think when I'm doing my podcast interviewing people, I think I've gotten relatively good at giving them space. Um, I think it's gotten better over time. I'll be honest with you. I feel like I've been trying to dominate this conversation too much because I'm excited to talk about my shit that I'm releasing, you
But
know?
that's the goal though. Like you're the guest here. You do dominate this stage. I'm just your assist, right? Like I'm just here to hold the microphone for you. So that's exactly how it should be. That's the dynamic of, in my opinion, anyways, is the guest is on there for a platform to talk about their story, their tours, their shows, there's new music. I'm just here to make hilarious jokes because I'm a funny gal and to keep the conversation flowing, right? So yeah, podcasting it's very interesting because I remember when I first started, oh man, I got this shitty mic from Amazon. It's like and I've done a lot of events, like I like even like business events and stuff. So like I knew like lapel mic, I knew all this stuff. I'm not a sound engineer by anywhere near close to that, but I'm aware of like the equipment. So I made the mistake of just focus on the aesthetics and not the actual sound because podcasting in its true form is an audio experience. And I just went on Amazon. I got like these cheap ass lapel mics. And I'm sure now with technology, I mean, this was 10 years ago. So I'm sure cheap ass mics now, actually, there's some that probably sound good, but back then, no. And my first official podcast was with Jamie Josta of Hatebreed. So Jamie has his own podcasting network. He has his own huge show, The Josta Show. And here I am, podcaster, brand new podcaster, rolling up with a shitty mic. And I remember we were outside the tour bus at Warped Tour. And Jamie was like, is this mic going to pick up the sound? I'm like, yeah. You guys, that was like the shittiest audio I've ever probably captured in my entire life. I had to send it to multiple audio engineers to at least try to make it sound less shitty. So I was focused on the wrong thing. I was focused on aesthetics, which of course brand's important. You always have to be on brand. You always have to have the same look and feel and the cohesiveness. But if you really want to capture listeners and have them stick with you, you have to have good, crisp audio, right? So that was
Absolutely.
mistake number one. And the other one was like I'd have like a piece of paper of questions, which is good to have those talking points. But I would be so focused on making sure I asked the next question instead of being aware of the conversation at hand. So like nuggets were being dropped. So instead of like asking to dive deeper, I was just like, okay, and then so like there's just like it's a cool experience to grow through as a podcaster, to go from that timid, nervous person to now it's just like, hey, we're just hanging out. We're just hanging out all over the eardrums of people at all worldwide at this moment.
But, that's a beautiful thing because everyone starts somewhere, and,
Yeah.
when you have a failure like that, it's such a great motivator. It kinda kicks your ass and shows you what's important. Um, and look, if it's an audio medium, obviously, priority number 1 is you gotta have crisp sound, you know? Um,
Mhm.
but also to kick my own ass a little bit, I'm just using my MacBook mic right now. Does it sound okay? I hope it sounds okay.
It does sound okay. I mean, it's no DJI mic like I'm using, but it does sound
Ooh.
good.
I mean, when we're doing our podcast, we've got like a very serious setup and
Yeah.
it's I mean, even if the videos were all fucked and we had nothing visual, we'd at least have pretty good audio. So we got that going for us.
100%. And you know what's so funny is I always laugh at myself. I always joke because like the setup I'm using right now, it's just so it's what I bring to like festivals to do on-site interviews there. I have a kick-ass setup in my studio that's in another part of my house. And just a creature by freaking habit, here I am on these DJI mics. It's so funny because I have like a Shure mic, I have all this equipment stuff, and then here I am with my little DJI. But hey, it's getting into the ears of listeners, so here we are. But just to make a point when you're like, well, I have to call myself out. I'm like, well, I still have to call myself out because I have a better setup than I currently have.
So you're
Not
like
that you're not
saying
worth it, like, but I'm just a creature of habit.
you're like, I'm better than I was when I sucked, but I
Oh,
could be doing better now, and it's right
I
down the
could be
hall.
better, but hey, I'm not the worst. You could have caught me at a worse time. That is awesome. Well, Nick, I really appreciate all your time. And I know that I anticipated and set the expectation of about 20 minutes, and we've doubled that time. So I appreciate you having some great conversation. For everyone listening in, if they are, man, maybe they're underneath a rock somewhere and they're not following you or the band, what's the best place for them to catch up and make sure that they are up to date on tour shenanigans, new music, and your podcast episodes that you drop?
We're very serious about the Instagram for better or for worse. So you can go to at Oceans on Other Planets, all one word, all lowercase, no dashes or anything like that. So that's the band page, and we've been growing that pretty well. I think we have like 4,000 followers. And then
Nice.
mine is Nick Wolf Music, but it's got underscores, Nick under Wolf under music. And then we're also on the other platforms, TikTok, Facebook, whatever. But I think the Instagram is the best source. We do have a website too. I don't know. Do people use websites anymore? It's hard to say.
Okay. So I know that that was like my way of exiting off this interview and letting you go, but I'm not gonna let you go just yet because I will say yes, websites are definitely a thing. And here you want to talk about AI and geek out for a second, just real quick, 30 seconds. So I recently revamped Teaser Talk's website, right? Because I'm geeking out currently with AEO, which is the Ask Engine Optimization. So that's the Chat GPTs. It's all the AI search engines that a lot of people are gravitating towards now instead of Google. But you still want to take in consideration of SEO. So what I did is I took my old website and I literally screenshot the above the fold and I sent to ChatGPT and I said, "Hey, here's my current website above the fold. What can I improve?" Because at this point, I've already changed my chat to know like teaser talk, know who's the audience, know what it's for, and I'm telling you, mind freaking blown because each portion, this is a shameless plug for those who haven't checked out the new Teaser Talk, go to teasertalk.com and check it out because it was very thoughtfully processed. The hyperfixation of the ADHD in me, I literally like obsessed over it on a weekend project and I took it from start to finish in a weekend. But everything is purely like created and planned with SEO optimization, AEO optimization, and everything in mind. So I revamped my media kit, everything. But long story to say, yesterday I got a contact form, which my old website, I did not have a contact form on there. I had my email address listed on there somewhere, but it wasn't a clear call to action of contact us. I had a PR person who I'm not going to say band names because I don't get anybody in trouble, but she's a PR person that represented a band that I had interviewed last year or so. Anyway, she reached out to me. She's like, "Hey, Holly, oh my gosh, love the interview that you've done with so and so. I don't have your contact information because I'm no longer with this other PR service. I have 2 bands for you. I'd love to interview." Blah, blah, blah. So it's like if I didn't have that website, she wouldn't have known how to contacted me, right? So people do
I
use
see.
websites. So classic example that happened just as of yesterday. So
Well, you actually hit 2 big topics, right? One is just about communication, contact info, but the other is about these new tools are able to generate a new website literally in like 2 minutes, which is crazy,
well,
right?
hold on real
There's
quick.
a whole bunch
I
of
I
these now.
gotta I gotta tell you though, I built that website myself. I just had ChatGPT give me guidance on what elements to put above the fold. I
Well,
can't
you're
I can't
kinda
give
using it in like the most,
I'm using it
sensible
as
way
a yeah, I'm like, "Hey,
as a
like, help
coach.
me out here. What should I be adding to this?" But I physically built that website out. I mean, no knocking to those people who use code to build out websites because that's awesome, but it's my own blood, sweat, and tears on that one. But
Well, it's
yes,
something
you're
to be proud of, and I will give you credit. You've got great branding, it's
yeah,
consistent, you clearly take that stuff seriously, and it shows,
yeah.
and, like, even the little reminders we talked about and the, email notifications and stuff, it was one of the most smooth implementations I've seen for, like, a podcast. Usually, people don't have that shit together, and it's kind of a chaotic mess, but like you said, if you get that optimized, you don't have to dick around with it, which is wonderful for everybody.
Yep, 100%. And thank you for the compliments. Back at ya. But anyways, for real this time, I will let you go because I know it's been a long conversation and I appreciate your time. So for everyone listening in, I know Nick has dropped all the methods to follow them and also check out the show notes because I will hyperlink their Instagram, their website, because websites are now important. We've realized. So you guys check them out, follow them, grab up those tickets if they're in a city near you. If they're not near a city near you, go through those crazy TSA lines and book a flight and go see them, whatever it is.
Road trip,
Support
come
the
on,
city.
road trip.
Road trip. Yeah, just road trip that stuff. But anyways, everyone tuning in, you guys keep rocking till next week. And then Nick, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you, I hope you have a good weekend.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Teaser Talk. Head over to teasertalk.com to subscribe so you don't miss out on another episode. Until next week, keep rocking.